Every era in history has carried a secret about power, influence, and the hidden ways in which one mind can affect another. From the courts of ancient kings to the strategies of philosophers, there has always been an understanding that true control is not about physical strength, nor about wealth or appearance. It is about the unseen currents of the mind, the person who can shape emotions, who can guide thoughts without being noticed, who can plant an idea that grows silently inside another's imagination. That person is the one who truly holds power. And this is where the teachings of Machiavelli still echo through time. Most people imagine that attraction or influence depends on beauty, money, or constant attention, but the truth is far more subtle. Real fascination is born not from what is obvious, but from what is mysterious. It does not come from constant presence, but from carefully measured absence. It does not rise from begging for attention, but from the quiet confidence of one who knows his own worth. When you understand this, you begin to see why some individuals remain unforgettable, even when they say very little. Machiavelli once said that people forget the death of their father sooner than the loss of their inheritance. Why? Because the mind reacts more strongly to what threatens security than to what seems natural. Translate this into relationships. Words of kindness are quickly forgotten, but emotions of vulnerability, mystery, or intensity are remembered for years. This is why the most powerful impression you can leave on someone is not through what you give constantly, but through what you allow them to feel unexpectedly. It is the sudden wave of uncertainty, the sharp moment of fascination, the rare spark of admiration that stays in the heart. The truth is, you do not need to be the most handsome man in the room, nor the wealthiest, nor the most charming with words. What you need is to be intentional, unpredictable, and emotionally steady. The one who is calm while others rush. The one who holds back when others reveal everything. The one who makes people wonder what lies behind the silence. Mystery, after. All is the oxygen of desire. Remove the mystery and the flame dies. Protect the mystery, and the flame grows stronger. In every human connection there is always a story being told, whether spoken or unspoken. Machiavelli taught that whoever controls the story controls the power. In relationships, this means the one who does not appear desperate, the one who is desired but never begs, the one who is whole yet never too available. This is the one who shapes the narrative. Influence does not come from shouting or demanding. It comes from guiding perception. If others believe you have value, you do. If others sense that you could leave at any moment, they value you more. This is the paradox of attraction. The mind longs for what it cannot fully grasp. Imagine this clearly. A man who is always present, always calling, always explaining himself, he becomes predictable. Predictability kills tension. But a man who is kind yet composed, who gives attention but not endlessly, who remains warm but never dependent, he creates uncertainty. And in uncertainty, desire is born. This is why Machiavelli advised rulers to appear virtuous, but never to be enslaved by virtue. You too can appear caring, protective, and attentive, but you must never become dependent. The moment you depend, you lose the balance of power. Dependence suffocates mystery, and without mystery, there is no lasting desire. Think of desire as a delicate game of tension. If you reveal all your cards, the game ends. If you reveal nothing, the game never begins. The art is in revealing just enough to spark curiosity, while keeping enough hidden to sustain fascination. Every word, every silence, every gesture is part of this dance. Show too much eagerness, and you dissolve the tension. Show too little presence, and you disappear completely. But hold the middle ground, the subtle balance, and you become unforgettable. Machiavelli once wrote that it is better to be feared than loved, if one cannot be both. Now, in the realm of relationships, this has a new meaning. It does not mean cruelty. It means it is better for someone to feel the risk of losing you than to feel certain that you will never leave. Love without fear of loss becomes comfort, but love touched with the possibility of loss becomes passion. You win not when someone knows you are always there, but when they feel they must earn your presence. This is not manipulation. This is human psychology. What is scarce the mind treasures, What is abundant, the mind forgets. Consider a man with a clear mission in life. He is not waiting for approval. He is not rearranging his entire existence to fit someone else's schedule. He is deeply focused on his vision, his growth, his path. This man does not chase, yet he is chased. He does not beg, yet he is valued. Why? Because his energy is directed towards something greater than approval. And that focus, that silent fire, creates admiration. Attraction fades quickly, but admiration remains. When you admire someone, you cannot forget them. And this is the heart of Machiavellian strategy. To be the one who is not only desired, but admired in silence. Presence creates interest. Absence creates obsession. This is one of the oldest truths of the human heart. Be present, and you spark attention. Step back, and the imagination begins to work. In the silence, in the unanswered question, in the empty space, the mind begins to weave stories. What is he thinking? Why is he not here? What does that look mean? These questions pull. Stronger than any words. The uncertainty is not weakness, it is power. For the mind craves resolution, and in the absence of answers, it clings to the person who created the question. When you learn to use time, silence, and scarcity, you will see the effect. Too many men believe that being constantly available makes them more desirable. But the opposite is true. The human mind treasures what it does not fully possess. The more you explain, the less power your words have. The more you withdraw at the right moment, the stronger the memory you leave behind. This is why sometimes a simple glance, a subtle gesture, or a brief word can echo far louder than endless conversations. Influence is not about how much you say, it is about how deeply the little you say is remembered. So here lies the principle. Do not aim to flood the mind with noise. Aim to plant seeds of thought. Give fragments, not the whole picture. Share hints, not conclusions. Let them interpret. Imagine and question. Every time the mind fills in the gaps, it invests more energy. And the more energy someone invests in wondering about you, the more unforgettable you become. This is not trickery. This is the art of narrative control. Machiavelli knew it well. Never reveal your full intention. Let others believe they are discovering it. What is discovered holds more power than what is handed over freely. The greatest leaders in history mastered the balance between presence and absence, revelation and mystery, warmth and distance. They understood that power is not in domination, but in influence. And influence flows not from forcing, but from shaping perception. This same principle applies in human attraction. You do not conquer by pressing harder. You conquer by making yourself the kind of presence that the mind cannot ignore. Even in silence, you remain present. Even in absence, you are felt. That is true influence. This, then, is the beginning of the art. To stand as someone whose presence brings warmth, but whose absence brings longing. To speak words that open doors yet leave some doors closed. To show enough of yourself to spark trust, but not so much that all is known. For what is fully known is soon taken for granted. And what is partly hidden becomes the magnet of curiosity. The unseen holds power, and the unseen is what Machiavelli would teach you to protect. Every relationship, every conversation, every glance between two people is more than just an exchange of words. It is a narrative. And the one who controls the narrative controls the bond. Machiavelli understood this deeply. Power does not come from loud declarations or forceful demands. It comes from the ability to guide perception silently, to make others see you not as you are, but as you want to be seen. In relationships, this principle becomes even more powerful. The one who appears, calm, whole, and self-contained, this is the one who shapes the story. The one who begs, who explains endlessly, who shows desperation, this is the one who loses control of the story. Think about how human desire works. We do not value what we fully own. We value what feels slightly out of reach. The mind is built to chase what it cannot completely hold. This is why scarcity makes diamonds precious, and abundance makes water ordinary. In human connections, the same law applies. The one who is always available loses value. the one who is sometimes absent, who leaves space for imagination, who shows presence but not dependency. This is the one who becomes unforgettable. Machiavelli often advised rulers never to reveal their full intentions. Why? Because the unknown creates tension, and tension creates respect. When everything is explained, when nothing is hidden, curiosity dies. But when hints are given, when layers remain unseen, people lean in closer. In attraction, this principle works with even greater force. If you say everything directly, the conversation ends. If you say just enough to spark a question, the thought continues to live in the other's mind for hours, sometimes days. Influence is not in the words spoken, but in the space between them. Imagine you say something with two possible meanings. To one ear, it sounds like a compliment. To another, it feels like a challenge. That single sentence will replay in the party mind again and again. Was it admiration? Was it provocation? That doubt, that silent puzzle, is what creates fascination. Or picture a look that lingers for a moment longer than expected. That look becomes a story. What did it mean? What was hidden in it? These moments, small as they seem, create more impact than hours of explanations, for the mind does not want final answers. The mind wants stories to unfold. This is why Machiavelli insisted that rulers must master both silence and speech, both presence and distance. In the same way, in human attraction, you must learn to balance your warmth with restraint. Too much warmth and you lose gravity. Too much distance and you lose connection. But when you combine the two, warmth that is felt yet never fully captured, you create an energy that holds attention without effort. It is this energy that keeps someone awake at night, replaying conversations in their head, searching for meanings in small gestures, building endless stories in the silence. The mind works like this. When it has all the information, it rests. But when something is missing, it races. It begins to fill the gaps with imagination. It interprets, it projects, it wonders. And every time the mind invests energy into imagining, it invests more emotion into the person who caused that imagination. This is why silence can sometimes be louder than words. Why absence can sometimes be more powerful than presence. The human heart cannot ignore the one who leaves unanswered questions. It is not about manipulation. It is about understanding how the mind naturally works. Think of the most memorable people in your life. Were they the ones who explained everything? Who were always available? Who gave you no space to breathe? Or were they the ones who left you wondering, who surprised you, who seemed to carry a story larger than themselves? The answer is obvious. We remember the unpredictable. We admire the composed. We chase the ones who do not chase us. The power of fascination is not in giving everything away, but in giving just enough to awaken longing. Machiavelli also wrote that a ruler must be both the fox and the lion. The fox to avoid traps, the lion to command respect. In relationships, this wisdom becomes invaluable. You must be clever, subtle, strategic, like the fox. Do not fall into predictable patterns. Do not expose your entire heart at once. Protect your inner world with intelligence. But at the same time, you must carry the strength of the lion, the quiet authority, the steady presence that commands respect without aggression. People are drawn to those who seem gentle yet powerful, approachable yet unshakable. This combination creates both safety and tension, both comfort and admiration. Balance is everything. If you lean only on the fox, you become too secretive, too hidden and lose connection. If you lean only on the lion, you become too direct, too forceful, and lose subtlety. But when you hold both, when your gestures carry mystery yet your presence carries strength, you become unforgettable. This is the paradox of true influence, softness and firmness woven together. Now let us look at another hidden principle, the value of selective presence. Machiavelli knew that when a ruler appeared too often, his image lost its power. People grew accustomed and respect faded. But when a ruler appeared rarely, with timing and purpose, each appearance carried weight. The same is true in human connection. If you are constantly present, your presence is taken for granted. If you disappear entirely, you are forgotten. But if you appear with intention at moments that matter, your presence becomes an event. People wait for it. They notice it. They remember it. This is why the art of timing is essential. Arrive not when expected, but when it makes impact. Speak not to fill silence, but to shape thought. Step back not to punish, but to allow the imagination to breathe. Every move becomes meaningful when it is not constant, and meaning is the true currency of influence. Words can be many, but meaning is rare. Actions can be countless, but those with timing live in memory. Control of timing is control of narrative. Consider also the importance of emotional control. Machiavelli observed that rulers who acted impulsively often lost power. The same applies in relationships. When you react to every emotion, when you argue endlessly, when you justify yourself too quickly, you lose strength. But when you remain calm, when you smile where others would argue, when you walk away at the peak of tension instead of breaking down, you show rare mastery. And mastery creates respect. Respect deepens attraction. Respect builds influence. The man who cannot control himself cannot influence others. But the man who masters himself becomes magnetic. At the heart of all this lies one truth. Human minds are wired for stories, not facts. We remember the story someone makes us feel, not the details they gave us. This is why mystery, timing, subtlety, and restraint work so powerfully. They transform interactions into stories. And a story once planted in the mind continues to grow, long after the moment has passed. This is why some people linger in memory for years. They were not merely present, they became a story. So when you speak, do not explain everything. Plant stories. When you are present, do not overstay. Leave space for imagination. When you are kind, do not become dependent. Balance warmth with strength. Carry both the fox and the lion within you. And above all, remember that attraction does not come from flooding someone with words or attention. It comes from shaping how they feel, from guiding their imagination, from leaving behind something they cannot resolve. For what cannot be resolved cannot be forgotten. Machiavelli once wrote that a ruler must be both the fox and the lion, the fox to avoid traps, and the lion to command fear and respect. This teaching, although born in politics, applies beautifully to human attraction and influence. Because every interaction is a balance between subtlety and strength. To attract, you cannot be only cunning or only forceful. You must be clever enough to remain unpredictable, yet strong enough to command silent admiration. You must show that you can walk away at any time, but also that when you choose to stay, it is a choice of power, not of weakness. Think of this carefully. The fox represents intelligence, strategy, and the ability to see beyond appearances. In relationships, this means not falling into predictable patterns, not revealing your emotions too quickly, not letting every thought escape from your lips. It means being wise enough to sense when to step forward and when to step back. But the lion represents presence, strength, and authority. It is the quiet steadiness in your voice, the calmness in your reactions, the firmness in your decisions. People are drawn to those who seem like both, mysterious enough to wonder about, yet strong enough to rely on. Too much fox, and you appear slippery, untrustworthy. Too much lion, and you appear rigid, intimidating. Balance them and you become magnetic. Now let us look deeper into what creates lasting influence. Many believe influence comes from constant effort, from proving worth over and over. But Machiavelli knew this was false. Influence is not born from repetition, but from impression. You can spend months speaking endlessly to someone, and yet be forgotten. Or you can leave a single moment of impact and be remembered for years. This is why restraint is more powerful than excess. A carefully chosen word can live longer in memory than an endless speech. A single act of calm control can inspire more respect than countless emotional reactions. In influence, less often becomes more. Presence when constant loses weight, but presence when selective gains meaning. Imagine a ruler who appears before his people every day, explaining everything, seeking approval. Soon his image weakens, he becomes too common. But a ruler who appears rarely, with purpose, with strength, becomes unforgettable. The same truth applies to personal influence. If you are constantly available, constantly explaining, constantly trying to prove, you lose your weight. But if You appear with timing, with silence, with mystery. Your presence becomes valuable. It becomes something waited for, something admired. Absence has a power few understand. When you are absent, you allow imagination to work. You give the mind a stage to build stories about you. And the mind, once it begins to build stories, cannot stop. It wonders, it questions, it searches. And every question becomes a thread that ties the mind closer to you. This is why absence, used wisely, creates obsession. Presence creates interest, yes, but absence makes that interest grow into longing. It is not cruelty, it is strategy. It is letting the natural laws of the mind work in your favor. But here lies a greater truth. Influence is not only about how others see you, it is first about how you see yourself. Machiavelli wrote that the ruler must believe in his own authority before others believe in it. Likewise, if you do not see yourself as valuable, if you do not walk with self-respect, no one else will feel it from you. Value cannot be begged for. It must be embodied. The man who knows his worth does not need to prove it. He does not chase. He does not argue endlessly. He lives with the quiet conviction that he is already valuable. And that conviction, without a single word, communicates more powerfully than any explanation. This is why self-mastery is the foundation of all influence. Control your emotions, and you control the atmosphere around you. Lose yourself to anger, and you hand over your power. React impulsively, and you show weakness. But stay calm even in moments of tension, and you reveal strength. Smile when others expect you to fight. Walk away when others expect you to beg. Speak with simplicity when others expect you to justify. These small acts of control create silent admiration. For people admire not those who lose control, but those who remain steady. Think of this in real life. A man who panics, who explains too much, who chases approval, becomes forgettable. But a man who holds his silence, who speaks only when it matters, who carries himself with composure, that man cannot be ignored. He becomes a mystery to be solved, a presence to be respected. His power is not in loudness, but in steadiness. His influence is not in force, but in elegance. Elegance of restraint, elegance of silence, elegance of timing. Machiavelli would call this the highest form of power, not domination, but influence without effort. Now let us turn to the deeper layer: purpose. Machiavelli observed that leaders without a larger mission eventually fall because they become trapped in the small games of daily survival. The same is true in attraction. If your entire focus is on pleasing someone, on proving yourself, on winning approval, you become small. You orbit around them, and in doing so you lose your center. But the man with a larger mission, the man who lives for something greater than approval, becomes irresistible. His energy is not consumed in chasing. It is directed toward growth, vision, creation. This gives him gravity, and gravity cannot be faked. It draws others naturally. Purpose creates a flame that no external validation can match. When you are on a mission, you carry an energy that is rare. You are not desperate. You are not easily shaken. You are not controlled by mood or circumstance. You move with intention, and this intention radiates. It says silently, "My life is bigger than any one approval. My time is valuable. My focus is sharp." This does not push people away. On the contrary, it pulls them in. For the human heart is drawn to fire, and the fire of purpose is brighter than any charm, any appearance, any words. Remember, true influence does not come from controlling others directly. It comes from controlling yourself so deeply that others cannot help but feel it. This is why the most irresistible individuals are not those who constantly seek to dominate, but those who could dominate if they wished, yet choose restraint. They could manipulate, but choose to inspire. They could bind, but choose to free. And because they choose freedom, they become unforgettable. For desire is not born in chains. Desire is born in freedom that one fears to lose. So ask yourself, how do you carry your presence? Do you rush to fill silence, or do you allow silence to speak for you? Do you give away every thought, or do you leave space for imagination? Do you depend on approval, or do you walk with purpose larger than approval? These questions define influence, not by tricks, not by force, but by elegance, by control, by depth. This is the essence of what Machiavelli would call the art of power. Not raw strength, not cheap manipulation, but refined influence. An influence that leaves people changed after encountering you. And here lies the secret of lasting impact. To be remembered not for the noise you made, but for the depth you carried. To be valued not for endless attention, but for rare presence. To be desired not for being predictable, but for being just out of reach. The unseen, the untold, the restrained, these are the forces that shape memory. For the mind does not hold on to what is common, it holds on to what is rare. And rarity is created not by wealth, not by appearance, but by how you use time, silence, and purpose. Machiavelli taught that true power is not always visible. The strongest rulers in history did not always rule by force but by influence, an invisible hand shaping the choices of others without them even realizing it. In human relationships, the same principle applies. You do not need to dominate someone's life. You need to create such an impact that even in your absence, your presence is felt. This is the mark of true influence, not control by chains, but influence by memory, by imagination, by silent weight. Think about the difference between control and influence. Control is loud, forceful, demanding. It creates resistance. Influence, on the other hand, is silent, subtle, and lasting. It does not fight the will of others. It guides it gently. It does not cage the heart. It makes the heart return on its own. This is why the most powerful individuals are not those who hold tightly, but those who can let go, knowing their presence will not be forgotten. People may resist control, but they cannot resist influence. Control fades when pressure is removed. Influence grows stronger even in silence. This is why Machiavelli insisted that rulers make others depend on them. But here, in the art of attraction, dependence must be redefined. Emotional dependence is unstable. It creates fear, it destroys respect. But emotional influence is the true throne. Influence means being the one who lingers in thought, who shapes the narrative, who becomes the silent reference point for comparison. This kind of presence cannot be faked. It is built through self-mastery, through restraint, through selective presence. The man who can hold back is often stronger than the man who rushes forward. Consider the power of autonomy. A person who is self-sufficient, who carries his own sense of worth, who lives with purpose, becomes magnetic. Why? Because autonomy is rare. Most people live seeking approval, chasing validation, fearing rejection. But the one who stands steady, who is whole even without constant affirmation, becomes a mystery. People ask, what gives him this calmness? What fuels his strength? Curiosity grows, and with it, attraction. True power lies not in needing, but in being needed. Not in chasing, but in being chased. Not in proving, but in living with certainty. Think about the qualities of the man who cannot be ignored. He does not flood conversations with endless words, but when he speaks, people listen. He does not over-explain, but he communicates meaning with simplicity. He does not fight to be seen, but his silence makes people notice. He does not demand respect, but his composure creates it naturally. This is the paradox of elegance: less noise, more depth; less effort, more impact. The ones who remain unforgettable are not those who speak the most, but those whose words and presence carry rare weight. Machiavelli would remind you that every gesture is strategy. Every silence, every smile, every withdrawal at the right time, these are not random, they are deliberate. The man who understands this becomes an artist of presence. He knows when to advance and when to retreat, when to reveal and when to remain hidden, when to give warmth and when to hold it back. This does not mean being cold, it means being intentional. It means never acting out of desperation, but always out of choice. And choice is power. Desperation gives power away. Choice keeps power in your hands. Now imagine how memory works. The mind does not remember constant repetition. It remembers what stands out. It remembers what breaks the pattern. It remembers the moment of silence when words were expected. It remembers the glance that carried a hidden meaning. It remembers the gesture that seemed small but came at the perfect time. This is why mastery of influence is not about doing more, but about doing less with more meaning. Every act must carry weight. Every silence must carry suggestion. Every word must carry depth. This is how magnetism is built. Magnetism is not about force. It is not about chasing. It is not about explaining. It is about creating a field of presence that others cannot escape. Even when you are absent, they feel it. Even when you are silent, they hear it. Even when you are gone, they remember it. This is not magic. This is psychology. The human mind clings to what it cannot resolve. The heart longs for what feels just beyond reach. And this is why those who master silence, timing, and restraint become unforgettable. Let us return to the question, what makes someone truly irresistible? It is not looks alone. It is not wealth alone. It is not endless attention. It is the rare combination of mystery and strength, of warmth and restraint, of presence and absence. It is being the one who could give everything, but chooses not to. The one who could reveal all, but holds back. The one who could chase, but walks with purpose instead. This duality creates fascination. It makes others think, I cannot fully understand him, and that is why I cannot stop thinking about him. Mystery feeds desire. Strength sustains respect. Together, they create influence that lasts beyond the moment. Machiavelli believed that rulers must create a perception of value greater than reality. In attraction, the principle is similar. Live as if your time is valuable and it becomes valuable. Carry yourself as if you are already admired, and admiration grows. Treat yourself as if you are the prize, and others will sense it. The world mirrors the story you tell about yourself. If your story is one of desperation, others will believe it. If your story is one of self-worth, others will believe that too. This is why the greatest strategy is internal first. Tell yourself the right story and others will follow it. So what is the final lesson? Influence is not about tricks. It is not about manipulation. It is not about forcing anyone's will. Influence is about alignment with human nature. People desire what they cannot fully have. They admire what they cannot fully understand. They respect what they cannot easily move. If you embody these truths not by pretending but by living them, you become magnetic naturally. You do not need to play games. You simply need to carry yourself with self-mastery, with purpose, with selective presence, and the result will be influence that lasts far longer than force ever could. Machiavelli gave the brush, but you are the painter. The art of influence is like painting a portrait on the canvas of memory. Every word, every silence, every gesture adds a stroke. If you rush, the painting loses shape. If you overfill, the painting loses elegance. But if you work with patience, with timing, with vision, you create something unforgettable. Influence is art. Presence is art. Mystery is art. And the one who learns this art becomes more than admired. He becomes remembered. So carry yourself with calmness. Speak with purpose. Appear with timing. Disappear with strategy. Give warmth, but never dependence. Hold strength, but never cruelty. Live with a mission greater than approval. For the man who does this is not only desired, he is respected, admired, and never forgotten. This is the essence of true power. This is the lesson of Machiavelli, reborn not in politics but in the art of the human heart.